Okay.
Hey, it's Dr. Nicole Sheehan with Six Opinion Consults. I'm here with one of our associate veterinarians, Dr. Carlin Ledane. She is amazing. She and I have been working together on this kitty named Coco. I've known Coco's daddy for a long time. I've helped him with his other animals. And this poor baby's only 6 months, made it through all his little kitten stuff, got outside, and we think he got hit by a car. He went to the emergency clinic for the weekend. He was in a lot of pain. He's got 2 fractures, one back here on his hip close to his tail, and then he's got another one on the other side of his hip. So he's in a lot of pain, but the bigger problem was that the nerves weren't working to serve his bladder and his colon. And so he couldn't pee or poop. And so if you can imagine, you can't pee or poop, you cannot live, you cannot survive with that. And so we were in a terrible position earlier this week, not knowing if we were gonna have to put this baby down. It was just really traumatic for everybody. And we tried a bunch of medications, and we still couldn't get him to pee. And it was really heartbreaking. And so we made the decision 2 days ago. I had been doing acupuncture on him, but we pretty much made the decision if he didn't pee in the next couple of days, he was probably going to have to go to heaven today. So we're happy to report he's not going to heaven. He is doing better. But on Wednesday, we made a very clear decision that we were going to hit him up with acupuncture as strong as I could get to see if I could fire up those nerves. And so what I want to share with you today is something that I think a lot of veterinarians can learn how to do. So I'm certified in acupuncture, but the treatment that I do for any kind of paralysis, whether it be dogs that are down in the rear, which I'm about to post another video of one of our dogs that was paralyzed from the waist down, who walked after 1 treatment, and she's doing fine. She's basically back to normal after 4 treatments. This kitty, I was hoping the same thing would work with him. So he basically has paralysis of his nerves going to his organs, which is life-threatening. So we hit him up with what my paralysis treatment is, and so this is something that Carlin is learning how to do as a general practitioner, because it's not rocket science. It's just targeting the nerves that have a problem and getting them to fire electricity. So our nervous system is like an electrical system, and so what's happening is the nerves that were damaged up here were not serving the organs. So all we've got to do is get these nerves to work again. And I know it sounds complicated, but it's actually really simple. And so I'm going to show you guys a little technique that we used on Wednesday, and we had our fingers crossed, and I told Carlin, I felt really good about it, so I'm hopeful, and we were just like, ugh, you know, and he peed that day twice, and he got his bladder down to about 50% of its normal size. He peed yesterday twice, he kept his bladder down, and then today's bladder is teensy weensy.
Like that big.
So we're super excited. So he's gonna make it. He's gonna be fine. He's walking around fine. We just had to get him to pee. So, but while we're at it, we're gonna do another treatment today before the weekend, and then we're gonna send him home, and we're gonna hope that he does okay. We might need to treat him again next week, but we'll see. So you'll notice he's under anesthesia right now, or not anesthesia, but sedation. We do have full monitoring equipment on him right now. I've just turned off all of the notices there so that it doesn't interfere with our video today, but he was so painful. It was actually really hard for me to treat him with acupuncture. He was just, most cats do great with it, but he was just so painful. It was heartbreaking. And not only was it heartbreaking, is I couldn't be as aggressive as I needed to be. So we anesthetized him. The other day he was even breathing in gas, and Carlin catheterized him to clear out his bladder, just to give him some relief, and then we hit him up so hard. So we decided that we've got to be that aggressive with that acupuncture, and so he's actually under a sedative, and it's really for his own comfort and for our ease of really treating him. So his nerves serving his colon are right here. So this is the wing of his ilium. And so this is his main hip bones, and right in the middle is the lumbosacral junction, and so we've treated that. Right in front of those hip bones are the nerves that serve the colon. So any animal that is having trouble with the colon, I'm not talking diarrhea, I'm talking incontinence or paralysis, can't poop, can't feel it, or most commonly you're going to actually have a bigger problem with older animals becoming incontinent. That would be my point that I used there. If we go backward, this next point right behind the hip bones actually serves the small intestine. It's good for us. It's close to the area he has an injury, and right behind that is the bladder. So that's his bladder point right there. And we know this based on Chinese medicine, but we also know this based on anatomy. So I'm doing a treatment that's kind of combining Chinese medicine and just simple anatomy principles. So I'm gonna go one step up. That's our kidney point. Kidney points are kind of good for everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw those in. That's more a Chinese medicine principle, but it's a bonus. And then we know he's got another injury back here on the tail. So I don't have any name for those acupuncture points, but I know his injury is there based on his x-ray, so I'm going to go ahead and treat that point. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do, this is one of my favorite points. This is a Chinese medicine point, but it's also an anatomy point. Is I'm going on the tip of the tail. In Chinese medicine, we call this Wei Zhan. But what happens is, in order for his tail to feel this sensation has to migrate all the way up to his brain and then back down to the tail. And what that's doing is he's got two areas of his spinal cord that have been injured. So what it's doing is it's requiring there to be an electrical transfer in his nervous system from here to there. And so that's one of the ways that I'm going to get his tail working again. I forgot to tell you, his tail doesn't move at this point. And I'm going to create another point to connect that electrical conduct to. And then this is one of my most important points, and I use this for dogs that are paralyzed as well from the waist down. I'm going in the tip of the feet. Now again, this is a Chinese medicine. You can see he actually felt it. He twitched a little bit. Oh, and he already pooped. So come here. So again, he's having trouble pooping. I hit his colon points, and there we go. So we've already got, and so we'll clean that up here in a second. So I'm going to hit these foot points. This is what we call kidney 1. It's another good point, but it's a really important point for paralysis. So really quickly before we clean up his little mess, I'm going to show you how to hook up the electrodes in a way that makes a difference for him. So again, we are going to think of the nervous system as an electrical system, right? And so I've got to get that electricity going again. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook these electrodes up. This is called a TENS unit or a PENS unit. And some people have had back trouble before. I've had this done where they'll put pads on your skin and then they'll hook up electrical impulses for pain relief for the back. But what it also does is stimulate the nerves. So as a kitty cat, he's got hair on him, so he can't have those pads. We'd have to shave them down. What we do is we hook these up. So I'm going to hook up his colon point to his bladder point. Okay. And then on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flip-flop my black to my red. So I've got a colon point, and then I've got a bladder point, because those are my two organs that are the most vital for his success here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this tail that we know is so badly injured. So I gave him a point right at the site of his tail injury, and I'm going to hook that to the end of his tail. So when I turn my machine on, I'm going to get an electrical impulse, just like a car battery. If you were hooking him a car battery, you're going to get an electrical impulse between the black and the red, and the black and the red. Then we're also going to get an electrical impulse between this black and this red. So those are my three impulses that I'm going for right now. And so all my machine does is tell me kind of where I'm at. So I'm going to turn on my machine. There's a certain frequency I use. Some vets use all different frequencies for this. I just hit them with one. I like to keep things as simple as possible. Life is complicated. So whenever we can be simple, we're simple, and this just seems to work for me. And so what I'm going to do is these animals generally will start to feel this impulse at a level 3. Based on where they feel it, I can actually tell how they're doing. And so what we found the other day was that he felt his impulses around 3. And so I'm looking at the yellow impulse. Okay, so if you can see, we got some twitching there. Now, if he was awake, he'd be uncomfortable with that. It would just feel funny to him. So I've turned it back down. So again, we're at a 3, which is awesome. So I'm gonna turn it back so he doesn't feel discomfort. And then I'm gonna go to my green wires. Okay, and I would expect for him to feel it at a 3 again. Whoa, yeah, you did. Okay, so that's a 2.5, which is awesome. So that's actually better than we had on Wednesday, which means he's getting more feeling there, which is amazing. But I don't want him to be uncomfortable, so I'm just gonna back it down a little bit. So he's actually at a 2 on that side. Now, because this is a longer distance, I'm probably gonna have to turn it up higher. He also has his most major injury in that site. And so what I'm gonna do is start turning that white one up, and it's gonna take usually more. I had to turn him all the way up to a 10 on Wednesday, so we'll see where we are. Yeah, we're all the way to a 10. And so he's still struggling with conductivity there, which tells me if I don't see some improvement each time, even from like a 10 to an 8, it means he could be a kitty who's going to need his tail amputated. But all things considered, going from life or death to having a tail amputation at the same time as neuter, that does not worry us at all. Also, this is only treatment 2, so there's a possibility. I always give big treatments for total to see what kind of results we're going to get. And that's because I've been doing this for over a decade, and so I have really reliable results. So I've learned in the treatments that we've developed here that 4 is kind of a magic number. If I don't get it at 4, I kind of wonder if we're going to get it at all, in which case we would maybe consider amputation. But anyway, I've got one more point I've really got to stimulate that is huge for paralysis, and that's the feet. And I'm going to explain to you why it's so important. So I have a second machine here. I can do up to 6, but he really doesn't need that at this point. He really just needs one more. I'm going to hook it up to these feet, and I'm going to tell you why it's so important to hook it up to these feet. And this goes for my paralyzed dogs as well, that are paralyzed from the waist down. So what will happen is, in order for these to conduct electricity, just like we're conducting electricity on these white wires from here to the tip of the tail, it's a long way to go. So think about how long, in order for these to communicate to each other, it has to go up one leg, over the injury site, up to the brain, back down, and down to the other leg. Back up, back to the brain, back here, down here. So if you look closely, every time this thing goes, flashes green, which is, more than once a second, it's conducting an electrical impulse every single time that flashes. Boop, 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 boop. So all of those are electrical impulses. And so if you can imagine rapidly just moving electrical impulses all through this area, it kind of wakes up the electricity of the nervous system. So I'm going to go ahead in my other machine and see where we are with that. Can you remember what number we were at on Wednesday?
I think it was 4.
I think it was 4.
Yeah.
Which is good. So again, they're usually going to feel it at a 3. It took up to 4 to get it there for him. We're just looking for a twitch. There we go. So right at a 4. So come closer and you can see what I'm seeing here. So as soon as he feels it, I don't need him to feel it. I need it to be just under that. So turn it up. There you go. So what that tells me is every time he feels this, we're getting electricity all through this area. So he's fully hooked up now to his electrodes. He'll be here for 20 minutes. So again, he is under sedation, and so we're going to keep monitoring him with our anesthesia monitoring equipment and make sure he's fine. We are going to take our time. He's going to sit here and he's going to get electrical impulses on him for 20 whole minutes. And then he's going to go home today. So I've been telling Dr. Ledane that I think all vets should learn how to do this treatment. It's really, for me, it doesn't require all that extensive training for acupuncture. It just requires a knowledge of anatomy, which we all have, and some really basic equipment. And so I just thought I would share this today. If you have an animal that's, you've seen suffer with this, or you're a veterinarian who wants to learn how to do this, I think it's a valuable tool to most of us here. I will say I've been doing this for 10 years and I can only remember one animal this didn't work on. One dog, and it was 7 years ago, and I don't think that dog wanted to walk again, which is really interesting. He wanted his owner to carry him everywhere, but I literally, is the only time I can remember ever not having a success with this technique. Super simple, it's cheap, it costs the owner in our clinic $65. do this treatment. So if you're looking at 4 treatments, as opposed to some of our bigger treatments for, you know, back surgery and things like that, you're looking at sometimes up to $5,000-$6,000. So it's kind of a no-brainer, and he's actually showing us up front that he's registering all this. So so thrilled to share with you one of our success stories. We don't always fix them, but we certainly try every time. We work our butts off to do it. So Dr. Ladane is part of our team here. She's been a wonderful asset to us. And she's really taken this kitty on as if this were her baby, and she's done a fantastic job, and we'll be very happy to see him go home today. So thanks for joining me today. Drop a comment or let me know if you have any questions about our treatment today. Thanks.